The Mini Cooper received a major redesign just over a year ago, growing in size once again and gaining an all-new power plant in the form of a turbocharged 1.5-liter twin-power 3-cylinder engine. The new model also addresses some of the shortcomings of the nameplate since BMW carved out Mini as a stand-alone brand in 2001. The exterior design of the redesigned Mini Cooper remains familiar, distinguished by a longer nose with an oval grille no longer split in two by the bumper, giving it a catfish-like front fascia. The tail lights are taller and more rectangular, and have a three-dimensional look to them. The cabin in the new model is also more spacious, with the windshield being a bit further ahead of the driver, buying some volume for the interior. There are plenty of other changes under the skin. The wheelbase has grown by about an inch, and the new model is 4.5 inches longer overall due to longer overhangs. Two engines are offered in the redesigned Cooper, the aforementioned 3-cylinder, good for 134 HP and 162 pounds-feet of torque, and a 2.0-liter inline-4 in the Cooper S model producing 189 HP and 207 pounds-feet of torque. The new 3-cylinder replaces a 1.6-liter inline-4, yet the car is now 2.5 seconds quicker to 60 miles per hour than the outgoing model, taking 7.3 seconds to 60 miles per hour when coupled with a 6-speed automatic, and in 7.4 seconds when paired with a 6-speed manual. The interior has also received a thorough revamp, with the dinner plate-sized speedometer migrating from the top of the instrument stack to where it belongs, in front of the driver, with the iDrive-based infotainment screen taking over its large round home on the dash. The round frame of the infotainment screen features a light-up ring that glows with different mood ring style colors, depending on the driving style of the moment and other inputs. The iDrive-based Mini controller knob itself is just south of the base of the shift gate, which features a rotating ring that allows the driver to go from the default driving mode to sport or green modes, with the mood ring responding with hot or cold colors. Selecting sport mode alters the steering feel, shifting characteristics, damper settings, and engine acoustics, while green mode offers a coasting function at speeds above 31 miles per hour and also mutes air conditioning use a bit. The new Mini now offers an extendable head-up display system as well as systems like a cruise control with a distance control function that can automatically maintain the distance from the car ahead. The new Mini also offers a pedestrian warning system that can brake automatically. The rear-view camera is available as an option, along with a parking assistant feature that can detect suitable parking spots and steer the car into a spot by itself, with the driver providing the accelerator and braking operation. The Mini Cooper two-door hardtop starts at $20,745 when coupled with the 1.5-liter 3-cylinder engine and a 6-speed manual transmission, and returns an estimated 29 miles per gallon in the city and 41 miles per gallon on the highway, for a combined 34 miles per gallon. What's it like to drive? We spent a week in the 1.5-liter 3-cylinder version of the Cooper equipped with a 6-speed automatic transmission, racking up about 900 miles along some of the slushiest roads that the Northeast Corridor could serve up. A very different and much more realistic, if hellish at times, landscape than when we first drove the Mini Cooper a year ago in sunny Puerto Rico. But the front-wheel drive Mini handled it well despite wearing the optional 17-inch wheels. The turbocharged 1.5-liter is a lively engine, and the 134 horses it commands are plenty to move the Mini around. After all, there's not that much of it. Staying in the default driving mode is sufficient for agile response from the engine and suspension, even though the 2.0-liter in the Cooper S offers a whole different level of performance. But even without resorting to the sport setting, which makes the engine growl just a bit more while dialing in some more weight into the steering, the Mini can be persuaded to dance in traffic and on the roads, some of which miraculously escaped being completely frozen over during bar time. With the new two-door hatch on the highway, the Mini cruises with an impressively low level of road noise and susceptibility to crosswinds. Despite the company's penchant for touting the go-kart feel of the Mini, this hatch loves to cruise in mostly straight lines for hours at a time. On the highway, it doesn't feel nose-heavy and it shrugs off expansion joints and other annoyances better than at slower speeds. The chassis stays flat at highway speeds with the car hugging the road, but there is no accompanying the bobbing around or floating sensation some other small hatches serve up. We averaged 33 miles per gallon on two long-distance jaunts of 400 miles each while experiencing plenty of mileage-robbing events like unpredictable traffic and long lines in tolls. Our mileage in city driving still stayed around 30 miles per gallon, which we would take all day long in any car. Despite growing in size, the two-door Cooper remains a bit challenged when it comes to luggage space. To haul two people and their luggage in comfort, one has to fold the rear seats down. The flip side of this is that there is plenty of space up front, with the far-set windscreen making the small hatch seem big on the inside to the driver and passenger. Legroom is generous up front as well, at times making us forget that the car basically ends just 5 feet behind our backs. But cruising in the Mini for hours on end, it's easy to forget just how small it still is on the outside. The ride on the 17-inch wheels is pretty much at the edge of acceptability. Despite the more generous overhangs, this is still a very short car with the wheels positioned at the 4 corners, and even with the standard 15-inch wheels, there isn't much room for suspension travel in the wheel wells. The ride quality in the newest model represents a dramatic improvement over the previous models, but unless you live in a locale with the kinds of roads you see in car commercials and only in car commercials, then being a car this low to the ground with large, wide wheels is a compromise of looks over comfort. The Mini's out-of-the-box performance in the midst of yet another snowpocalypse was a triumph of electronic stability control systems over weight, ground clearance, especially ground clearance, and the level of contact generated by the all-season tires steaming over what was basically hundreds of miles of ice and finally ground slush. The kind you get in a slush puppy machine. Nothing puts a small premium hatch to the test better than going through sections of interstate flooded with half a foot of ice and water at night at highway speeds, conditions that keep Range Rovers off the roads, and the Mini handled the latest snowpocalypse better than we thought it would. There are limits to what it can do when thrown into the conditions pictured, But the Cooper is not purely a fair-weather friend even when put into what could be described as a Minnesota winter doing a publicity tour of the country. With enough momentum, the Cooper tackles mild snow drifts with ease and without getting bogged down, though ground clearance can be an issue in unpredictable snow situations. Before that, there is the Mini Countryman All-4 with steel wheels on high-profile winter tires, known colloquially as the Canadian package. But even the front-wheel drive Cooper is not completely helpless in serious winters. Do I want it? Most prospective buyers will find the 1.5-liter turbocharged 3-cylinder version, the base engine, more than adequate, and there is enough power in reserve to have fun on the road. We go for the smaller 15-inch over the optional 17-inch wheels just to preserve the ride quality a little bit, but on good roads the larger wheels are fine as well. Mini's version of iDrive remains a skill to be learned, though it is not the mind-boggling system that we were first introduced to in the 2001 BMW 7 Series. The positioning of the Mini controller knob is still awkward in the Mini Cooper, but there's just no good place to put it given the design of the center armrest and the location of the nearest surface into which it can be integrated and remain reachable. The Mini is still a compromise when it comes to the rear seats, but that's why there is now a 4-door version of this car with the same two engines. The 4-door version is designed to offer easier ingress and egress for rear seat passengers rather than being a stretched sedan, so the extra doors and the longer trunk buy only a modest amount of extra space. The Cooper introduced the idea of a premium hatchback to the U.S. with its debut more than a decade ago, and the base model is still within easy reach, thanks to a starting price of $20,745. Options can pile up quickly. This is a BMW Group vehicle, with automatic transmission for $1,250 being the heftiest option outside of luxury-related packages. The best bang for the buck is simply upgrading to the 4-door model, which is a $1,000 premium over the 2-door.